Okay, let's talk about lab number 3, and lab number 3 is actually pretty straightforward. It's just a worksheet on chapter 19 that I got from the conceptual physics textbook. And so what we're looking at is the first thing we're going to do is we're going to be taking a look at a transverse wave, and just use a ruler. I don't care what units you measure in, preferably centimeters, but if you have to work in inches, that's okay. Take this thing and measure the wavelength and the amplitude, and please do remember to give me whatever units that you measured it in. If you just give me a number like 10, then that doesn't really mean too awful much to me. Let's talk about the wavelength. The wavelength is the distance from one peak to one peak, so this distance right there, and you're going to measure it. It's got the Greek symbol lambda. The amplitude, pretty straightforward. We're going to go from the equilibrium up to the crest, or you could go to a trough if you really wanted to. That's going to be the amplitude, so go ahead and give me these numbers right down here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of practice converting between frequency and wavelength, kind of like we did in the last lab. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here a little bit further, and we're going to see that we're given a swing going back and forth, and we see 2 seconds, and the unit tells me that we're talking about a period, not of a frequency, and period is just going to be the inverse of frequency. So go ahead and answer these guys. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move down here just a little bit further and get some practice using the equation relating frequency, wavelength, and speed. And that equation is as such a very important equation. Wave speed is equal to the wavelength multiplied by the frequency. Again, the units kind of tells you what you're looking at. This is a beats per second, and so it's going to be a hertz because the unit will be a per second. And what we can do is we can use this equation to figure out the wavelength, the frequency, and all this kind of fun stuff. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come down a little bit further and just get some more practice, only now we're talking about a gun firing 10 rounds per second and some speed. We can figure out the distance between them and just get a little bit more practice relating wavelength, frequency, and period. And then we're going to come down right here and do the same thing. Again, the peak to peak distance as given right here is going to be the wavelength, and we come back to this equation. Have I mentioned it's important? Wave speed is equal to the wavelength multiplied by frequency to answer these guys right over here. And then we're going to come down and just get a little bit of practice looking at the Doppler effect.